been getting away with it for 200 years.
Richard Dawkins!
The universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is, at bottom, no design, no purpose, no evil and no good, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference.
Religion is evil. Evil things.
No evil and no good.
Religion is evil.
No evil and no good.
Because it can make you do evil things, make you do.
DNA just is, and we dance to its music.
As the quotation says, who designed the designer? You have explained precisely nothing.
I want to talk to you about a particular scientist who does some philosophy of science in his book, and I've heard you say there are few things more simple than Richard Dawkins' God delusion.
Yeah, no, as I said, makes me ashamed to be an atheist, I think was the phrase I used. It's not the end of the argument. Dawkins then triumphantly says, there you are, bad argument, let's move on. Philosophy on 100, undergraduate response, what caused God?
The argument from first cause, well, that shoots itself in the foot, because if you're going to postulate a God as a first cause, you've then got a really big problem explaining where the God came from.
Philosophy on 100, undergraduate response, what caused God? I think that Dawkins does a serious misservice to the cause of non-belief by not being prepared to take seriously the kinds of things that believers believe in.
I'm sure you've come across the criticism when you're talking to a religious scholar and you're arguing about, and you say, you know, why would God send himself to be tortured? Couldn't he think of a better way? And they're thinking, but there's so much literature on this. Like, how can you say that when you haven't engaged with the theological literature? And then you say, well, you know, theology is a bit useless. It's like, if you'd have engaged with theological literature, then perhaps they would give you the time of day and say, well, at least you've done the reading and are making a point based on...
Well, okay, but I mean, why would I bother to read Christian theology any more than Australian Aboriginal theology or
I suppose the same reason that you would talk about Christian theology more than you talk about the alternative, because it's what you're doing, it's what you're engaging with.
I've got better things to do. I do science.
I see.
There simply are no reasons for the existence of a God.
What would persuade you?
Well, I'm starting to think nothing would, which in a way goes against the grain, because I've always paid lip service to the view that a scientist should change his mind when evidence is forthcoming. The trouble is, I can't think what that evidence would look like.
What would persuade you?
Well, I'm starting to think nothing would. So there are no good arguments in favor of a God, and that's all one needs to say.
If you'd have engaged with theological literature, then perhaps they would give you the time of day and say, well, at least you've done the reading.
Why would I bother to read Christian theology any more than Australian Aboriginal theology?
Same reason that you would talk about Christian theology more than you talk about the alternative.
I've got better things to do.